It is officially Super Bowl week, and it is the last show of the 2024-2025 NFL season. Bittersweet moment for BJ and I, but it's going to be an awesome game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. For those of you who do not know us, we are Statletics. We love talking through the big games, and we really rely on our model projections and the analytics that go behind that to kind of discuss and discern what we think is going to happen in these games. So if that's up your alley, then you're in the right place. We appreciate you joining. Before we get going, Beach, welcome back.
Thank
for
you.
those of you who
Thank
don't
you.
know and were watching last week, Beach spent a week over in Kenya helping out some kiddos over there. He was redistributing the Bills AFC champion merch. So glad to have him back here safe. I'm just messing around. But glad to have him back here safe. Beach, how was your week? How you doing, man?
I actually saw that, right? People were wearing shirts with like non-champions. I'm being so serious.
That is hilarious.
Yeah,
So
it was good. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so that confirms our priors. That's actually a thing.
It is a real thing. Apparently the way that they do it, because I asked Jack. Sorry, not going on a tangent here, but he said they just give it to random missionaries, and they'll just go over there and wherever they go, and they'll give it to them. But it was good. Really humbling experience. I mean, God bless all those people over there. They are so kind and really love the Lord, and they have so much less than we do. So, very humbled, but it was good. Glad to be back. I'm jet lagged. 24 hours on a plane, 25 actually. It was pretty terrible. So, but we're here. We're ready to talk ball one more time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's make the most of it. It's the last one of the year, biggest game, arguably in all of sports. So we got plenty to talk about. There's going to be a lot that we go through. Typically, we always like to do some of our favorite bets, but we're strictly going to talk football. BJ and I have never really agreed on a lot of these Super Bowl prop bets, and it still to this day seems like the perpetual coin toss bet. We are once again going head to head against. I'm a heads guy. He is a tails guy. So, it is what it is. People ride their gut and have what they like. So, anyways.
You gotta pick the same one every time, or else you were statistically less probable to get it.
I know.
You gotta just stick with one.
I think the tail has been the last two Super Bowls though, so I've been screwed.
Yeah, it'll be heads for you this year. I feel like it, but I'm still on tail.
Yeah, let's hope. Anyways, football: Eagles versus the Chiefs facing off in the Super Bowl. We get another rematch between Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. It is going to be glorious. We have the Chiefs that are going for the three-peat, making history, and then you have the Eagles who are going for revenge. And so in a game like this, of course, there's a lot of narratives and a lot of storylines, but at the end of the day, it is two of the premier teams in the National Football League. Albeit the Chiefs have had quite the interesting season, let's call it. They had the highest winning percentage in the entire NFL this year, yet people still... It still seems like they're a lesser version of themselves than what they've been in the past. So it's quite an anomaly trying to analyze this Chiefs team and make any sort of deduction of what we're going to expect in this game per se. So there's a lot of nuances to the game that they play now compared to what they've have been doing under the Andy Reid scheme over the past few years. And then, of course, on the flip side, the Eagles, man, they're still doing what they're doing. They're probably the most talented roster by a wide margin in all of the league. I don't think anybody would really argue against me with that. Just looking at the personnel on the offensive and the defensive side of the ball, they have dudes. There's no area of the game where they're weak, and so that's going to be tough sledding for the Chiefs as well. The Eagles are actually 1.5 point underdogs as the home team in the Super Bowl. So a lot of the analytical projections that I look at, and specifically mine that I've generated for this game, they actually have the Eagles favored. Now, this one, the one that I'm showing at the bottom of the screen here, it's basically dead even. You have 21 to 20.9, I believe is the exact number. So a little bit lower totaled, but the spread is basically a pick even right there. And so I'm seeing that across the board. I also keep tabs on a lot of others who do analytical projections for these type of games. And I'm seeing the Eagles constantly come up as favors, not by a wide margin, but, kind of like the spread flipped. compared to what Vegas has it is. So I feel like the Chiefs are getting that kind of the 1.5 point spread just due to how they've been playing and how they've been winning. There's been plenty of times where they've probably been the lesser team on the field this year, but they've gotten it done. They just know how to win. They have the blueprint. They don't make mistakes that hurt them in the long run. So Chiefs, really impressed with what they've been able to do compared or just relatively speaking to the team that they have compared to the teams that pass. So it's going to be a fun game. Beach, before I get into the rest of these numbers and everything, the rematch is here. Okay. So you have this Chiefs team who now gone from hero to villain. And then you have this Eagles team, which also feels like kind of unliked as well. So before we get into the details and the analytics of this game, I kind of want to talk about the vibes around this game. And so you have two juggernauts going at it, but it's almost like nobody's really happy that these teams are the ones that are playing in it. Does this sound right?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely would have preferred a Lions Bills or Lions Ravens matchup. That's just not what we're gonna get because the fix is in for the Chiefs, right? That's what everyone's been saying. But I would have to think that 90% of the people that care about this game don't want the Chiefs to win. It's not that they want. It's not that they want the Eagles to win. It's that they don't want the Chiefs to win. But I mean, you said earlier the Eagles have a roster that is probably very wide margins better than everyone else in the league, and I would agree with that too.
The interesting thing about the Chiefs is like the way we like to approach this game is we look at the stats, we look at the analytics. The Chiefs on paper, there's really not hardly anything in which they project better than the Eagles. The Eagles are really impressive on paper. I mean, on both sides, nonetheless. The Eagles are a top 6 team in both EPA and EPA per play allowed, offensive and defensively speaking. The Kansas City or the Philadelphia offense is 15th overall in success rate. The Philadelphia defense is 2nd overall in defensive success rate allowed. So from the stats perspective, everything's kind of pointing to the Eagles here. Not to say that the Chiefs don't have great stats. They do as well. Kansas City defense, 14th overall in EPA per play allowed, 10th overall on the offensive side of the ball in EPA per play, 10th overall in offensive success rate. They're not the most explosive team, but they're consistent. They can grind it out on the offensive side of the ball. BJ, I think you were telling me before the show, they like 58% of their passing yards are run after the catch yards, most in the NFL by a significant margin too. So that's impressive. So nearly 60% of their passing yards are run after the catch. And I think it bodes well for the Chiefs that everybody's healthy aside of, Rashee Rice. But Hollywood Brown, DeAndre, Travis, Xavier Worthy, they all got their guys. So they can kind of open up the game plan. They don't have to limit themselves, and they have guys that can make those explosive plays run after the catch. So that bodes well for them. Now, the Eagles, there's a couple of things that I want to touch on here. We all know they played a couple years ago in the Super Bowl. The rematch, what looked different then and now? And there was one glaring thing, and I think everybody's going to be able to pick up on it. Saquon Barkely, right?
Mm-hmm.
During the last Super Bowl that these teams faced off, the Philly running backs totaled 45 yards and 0 touchdowns. I think Jalen Hurts, like you said, had over 300 passing yards in that game as well. And that's not the typical model of this Eagles offense. So Saquon Barkley being on here just kind of changes the whole game plan here. Not to mention that the Eagles have arguably the best offensive line in the NFL as long as everybody's healthy. I know there were some guys that got banged up, Jurgens to be specific, but I think they're all going to be healthy going into this game and ready to rock. And so the Saquon Barkley factor is going to be the difference maker. Not to say that he's going to go near nuclear and win the game himself, but it's a strength that the Eagles didn't have available to themselves the last time these teams faced in the Super Bowl. So it's going to be much tougher to game plan for this offense because, as we mentioned, for the Chiefs, everybody's healthy. Same goes for the Eagles. A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, all healthy, all ready to go. And so they've proven to be a more explosive offense than what the Chiefs have been doing this year too. So it's not going to be an easy feat to stop them. Now, I feel like this game is going to be it's going to be fun, kind of a masterclass between Vic Fangio and Steve Spagnuolo. Okay, so two really, really solid defensive masterminds going at it. Let's talk about it from the Philly perspective first. If you're Philly, you're kind of going to pick a few different game plans. You know, plan A, plan B, plan C. Obviously, you're going to focus on trying to get Saquon the ball and in space as much as you can. But secondly, what's your passing game structure going to look like? Is A.J. Brown going to be the guy? Is Devontae Smith going to be the guy? Or is Dallas Goedert going to be the guy? So a couple ways to look at this is, one, where are the Chiefs going to put Trent McDuffie? Right. He shadowed guys in the past. Nico Collins was the last one in the Texans game. Mm-hmm. So, but we've seen Trent McDuffie also shadow in the slot. So it's going to be interesting to see what Spags does and who he decides to shadow, if he decides to shadow anybody at all. So if he covers Devontae Smith, now you have a whole issue with A.J. Brown, you know, going deep. So then you really have to rely on your guys blitzing, getting pressure against Jalen Hurts, and not allowing A.J. Brown to have one-on-one against a non-Trent McDuffie corner. If you have Trent McDuffie on A.J. Brown, well, what are you going to do with Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert? That's another big question.
Yep.
And then to your point, I think you brought this up and you can speak to it a little bit. Mm-hmm. Dallas Goedert, nice matchup here. Chiefs allowed the most receiving yards to tight ends this year. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, it's kind of like you're going to have to pick your poison. And you're going to have to pick almost what you would rather give up in this Eagles passing game. So, not to mention that, of course, like we just mentioned, Saquon Barkely is going to go crazy as well. I mean, they're going to force feed him the ball. And then if you are lucky enough to contain him, then you have to pivot over to the passing game. But nonetheless, we talk about the Chiefs defense versus Eagles offense. Let's talk about the Eagles defense against the Chiefs offense. Eagles defense is raw. A lot of great players. They have some young corners that have had a really successful first season. Chiefs offense, most consistent offense in the league. Okay, and they have everybody healthy, so it's kind of how do you pick and choose what to do there? They grind you out. They run the football. They don't run it extremely well, but they're very successful at it. Same with the passing game. They have a bunch of ancillary plays to Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Hopkins. They can pick and choose, not to mention the safety blanket and Travis Kelce. So they can pick and choose at any given moment. And I have a fun stat for you here. As good as Vic Fangio's defense has been, Vic Fangio coached defenses have faced Patrick Mahomes 8 times, 6 with the Broncos and twice with the Dolphins. They are 0-8 straight up, 2-6 against the spread versus the Chiefs. Mahomes has 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a 64% completion percentage against Vic Fangio's defenses. How does that make you feel?
That's a very interesting stat. It makes you feel uneasy. But is this the best roster that Vic Fangio has had?
Arguably, but some of the Broncos defenses he had back in the day were insane.
You're right. So I think one of the biggest things that helps the Eagles defense is that the Chiefs offensive line is less than to be desired from what they've had previously. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this Eagles defensive front is ridiculous. And if they can generate pressures without sacrificing like extra men in the box, if they can generate pressure, I really think that they're going to be able to cause some mistakes and some miscommunication on for the Chiefs offense. So I think that's going to be a big key. As long as because the Chiefs have a bunch of really good like receivers they can get open if they're one-on-one, right? Or if there's not extra men out there, as well as they get the ball out quick, right? With the Raptor catch. Mm-hmm. So if they're able to create pressure with 4 or 5, I think that could bode really well for the Eagles.
I 100% agree with you. I think that's going to be the name of the game for the Eagles. As for a team, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, they are really, really good at not making mistakes, or at least not making major mistakes that hurt the game. And that's what the Eagles are going to have to do, is they're going to have to really focus on doing what they can to make either one of these players slip up. And it's going to be really hard to make Patrick Mahomes do that, but maybe they can force some turnovers and some of the ball carriers, receivers, cause a bit of a blunder. But I think they're going to have to pressure as much as they can, even though Mahomes is still really, really solid against the pressure. and then just trust their guys on the back end. So I think the Eagles' defense is going to be paramount in this game. And it's really going to depend on, too, how the pass rush gets home against Mahomes. So pivoting back to the Chiefs' defense, too. Chiefs run man defense about 54% of the time this year, fourth highest rate in the NFL, and they blitz at a 33% rate, also good for the fourth highest in the NFL. Now, obviously, they're probably going to change up their game plan a little bit, but maybe they don't. The Eagles are phenomenal against man coverage, and they're really, really solid against the blitz. Why is that? Because they have the playmakers of A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and company to break their man beaters. If you have time, if your offensive line is holding up, then A.J. Brown is, his one-on-one, his 50% ball is more like a 70 or 80% ball.
Yeah.
If you don't have time, Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith, especially with the technical route runner that he is so hard to cover, especially underneath in the slot. So it's like the dominoes don't add up here. They're going to fall in the direction of the Eagles, I think, just from looking at this at all angles. I love the Eagles in this spot. Now, I know the Chiefs know how to win, but everything is pointing to the Eagles here. It's favorable matchups, all things considered. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I definitely know that Spagnuolo is going to have the correct scheme there, or that gives you the best chance to win. But just one-on-one, man-on-man, I mean, the Eagles on the offensive side heavily beat the Chiefs on the defensive side.
Mm-hmm.
Now you mentioned Trent McDuffie, but it's like he's so much better than the rest that, yeah, sure, if you can take away A.J. Brown, let's just say, well, first they got to stop the run. If they can't stop the run, the Eagles are going to have a field day. Something else you didn't mention about with the blitz is Hurts can escape from the pocket. You got Hurts as a weapon as well to run, and there's too many dimensions to this offense for the Chiefs defense to be able to contain them, I believe.
100%.
As long as they don't make mistakes. Mistakes are the mistakes take the cake. With Goff throwing, what was it, like five picks against the Commanders, there was just no way they were going to be able to catch up. So as long as they can keep the turnovers down, I think the Eagles are very favorable here.
I 100% agree.
On both sides.
It's hard not to like the Eagles in this spot. I mean, the only thing, again, analytically speaking, the Eagles are better on paper, just hands down. No matter what facet you look at it, no matter what data you try and filter for, the Eagles are better statistically speaking. Their roster is better statistically speaking. I will say the bull case for the Chiefs is that they have arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL history, with one of the best offensive play callers in NFL history. So, of course, that always bodes well for the Chiefs. That's why they win. They know how to win, and they have two of the best to ever do it working on the same team. But I love the Eagles in the spot. I really, trust the process with what they've been doing. They haven't had to pass the ball a lot, and that's kind of started this narrative of they're not good at passing the ball, which is just dead wrong.
So
anybody that watches the Philadelphia Eagles play a full game knows that it's there at any given moment, right? And so I think that they have that. I think it's not going to be their first option in the offensive play calling in the Super Bowl. They're obviously going to want to focus on giving the ball to Saquon because he's a game breaker. If he can get open, he's going to break the game 100%. And so I love the Eagles in the spot. I love the fact that they are just good at everything right now. Great defense, great offense. The trenches, they outmatch the Chiefs' trenches. I mean, both teams have great offensive and defensive lines, but the discrepancies on the Eagles get both nods on the offensive and defensive side of the ball for the trenches. And so that's a huge, huge matchup advantage in my opinion. And so I love the Eagles in the spot. It's hard for me not to like them, especially with everybody healthy. So in a game like this, I know I've always said you want to be on the right side of the fix, but I think it's over for the Chiefs this year. I think it's done. I think they fall. And I say this, but knowing the Chiefs, they're probably going to have something crazy happen at the end of the game, roughing the passer, phantom PI, and it's going to just ruin everything.
How many mysterious holding calls in the first and second quarter do the Eagles have? Because that's what they do. And I've I'm so the fixes are real. They're so real for anyone that doesn't think so. And the way that they get away with it is the stupid penalties that don't make any sense early in the game. So it
It's
doesn't look like
insane.
it's a big deal. I'm
Yeah.
telling you,
It's
you
very
wait and
front loaded
see all
now.
the very front loaded. That's how they hide it. But yeah, we'll see how many mysterious holding calls the Eagles have when Barkley runs for 45 yards. We'll see.
Yeah. It's wild, man.
Yeah.
I can't believe it because I chose the Chiefs to win last game against the Bills. Excuse me. Not to say that the Chiefs were a glaringly better team. I just liked them at home. Plus, I mean, it was the right side of the fix. Not
Zebras are
saying
in.
that it was glaringly obvious, but there were a few suspect calls for the Chiefs that probably wouldn't be called against any other team in the league. But hey, it is what it is. Super Bowl is going to be fun. I think the two of the best teams in the league are playing. So that is one thing we have going for us. It's not going to be anything short of entertaining. And I think we're really going to see the most out of both coaching staffs. I don't think Nick Sirianni is a great coach, but I think the personnel, like the assistants that he has, are phenomenal. Starting with Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore. I have a lot of respect for their coaching knowledge and ability. And so on the other side, you have Andy Reid, of course, and then Steve Spagnuolo. So a lot of respect for them. So we're going to see, I think, a great football game for those who really respect the finer details of football in general. So I'm really excited about it. I love the Eagles here. They're just better on paper. They're the better football team. They have better players. That's it. That's it for me. So not to say that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs can't do it. They are the greatest, or he is the greatest. But I like the Eagles. Any last thoughts, BJ?
No, I mean I agree with you. I think the Eagles have the better team, the better roster, the better motivation for this. I mean, sure, the Chiefs can win 3 in a row, but the Eagles haven't pretty much everyone on their team hasn't had one yet. So they
want
need
it.
one. They
They
want
want
it. All of them want that. So we'll have to see, but I think it's gonna be a great game. Final score? What do you got?
Final score 23-20. Eagles.
Yeah, Eagles. I think it'll be
Oh,
a higher scoring game.
okay.
I think it'll be a higher scoring game.
Okay.
Really
I
do.
thought it was going to be kind of slower paced. Defense
Could
is
be.
kind of kicking in. Okay. I like it.
We'll see.
I hope it
Explosive
is.
plays, man. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got to get on some of the player prop action then.
Yeah. I'll be searching later.
Dude, last show. It was a pleasure. Thank you to everybody for watching. Beach. It was a fun year as always.
Love you.
I'll be back.